Hi, I'm Geeta Nandikotkur, Managing Editor for Asia and Middle East with Information Security Media Group. I welcome you to the next session in the agenda titled Securing the Remote Workforce, a Systematic Approach. And speaking on this is Manish Tiwari, Global CISO at Airtel. Manish discusses the big challenges for enterprises today in securing the mobile workforce that uses a mix of corporate-owned and personal devices and how important it is to understand the unknown risks. Welcome, Manish. Over to you.
Thank you, Geeta. It's my privilege to be able to speak on a subject which is so dear to me, a threat which has not been seen for close to 100 years. And I'm talking about the COVID crisis. The last time we saw this was in 1918 with the advent of the Spanish flu. And I'm sure everybody would appreciate that the world has truly changed many times over in the last 100 odd years or so. It's a much smaller place. Connectivity and the ability to travel truly makes the world much smaller. Unfortunately, that has also aided in the spread of this global pandemic so quickly and rapidly with very dangerous consequences. It has also changed the way we work. I would like to make a statement today that information technology and technology that allows everybody to connect is so intrinsic and so essential to literally the survival of mankind, because it basically it's helping us keep the wheels turning. Unfortunately, it has also resulted in an exponential growth in cyber threats. We are experiencing, this is a shutdown of absolutely phenomenal proportions. And as we speak, as the world limps back a little bit into normal, the fact also is that a very large portion of the workforce world over continues to work from home. And because of social distancing norms, the entire workforce, it is not back to normal. It's not business as usual. So remote connectivity and the ability to work remotely continues. Till now, a large number of critical systems could not be accessed from outside the company's network, and remote access to some of these mission critical systems would not be given, and which basically implies that people in the job profile of requiring to manage such systems would have to work from on-prem. We have seen in the last 4 months, and in fact, if we look beyond India, it's much more than India. It's this whole thing started in early January outside of China. We've actually countries have practically shut down, requiring all critical functions also to be able to work from remote. This access to sensitive systems outside the company's immediate area of comfort has definitely increased risk in a major way. And in the next few minutes, I actually want to walk you through on what is actually happening. What are the kind of risks that we see, and what are some of the basic measures that could be actually taken by companies, particularly small and medium companies, to protect themselves and to protect their users. So if you look at how cyber threats have been impacting world over last 4 to 5 years, we've had ransomware, we've had data breaches. There have been vulnerabilities in end of shelf life systems, particularly as seen in one of the operating system a couple of years ago, which resulted in the immediate propagation of malware. And because of which a large number of systems running on some of the older operating systems actually came down. However, if you see ransomware, DDoS attacks, ransomware, crypto mining, targeted attacks, phishing, These any which ways have been growing over the last 5 to 6 years. Uh, in the current context, with so many people working from home and working remotely, the one vector of attack which has grown exponentially is basically phishing, because it uses a combination of social engineering and technology, and is able to target the weakest link in the chain, which is the human. And what hackers are basically looking for are credentials. These are credentials that they can use to access more information. And all companies which basically do not put some basic safeguards in place when allowing their workforce to work remotely on sensitive systems are putting themselves at tremendous amount of risk. So the strategy is that, look, you have to protect the end user, you have to protect the device, and eventually you have to protect the data. And there are many vectors through which a cyber attack could actually originate and impact your systems. It could be on account of lack of perimeter security or inadequate perimeter security. It could be on account of lack of endpoint security, which makes endpoint systems like laptops, which employees use, very vulnerable. It could be on account of lack of adequate protection to our email systems, because email is the most obvious choice for infiltrating or targeting employees of a particular organization. So many organizations don't really even deploy basic email gateway protection solutions, and that puts their employees at greater risk. Uh, Many organizations do not have a well oiled governance mechanism to ensure that the systems are patched, end of shelf life systems are upgraded in time, and in case for some reason they are not being upgraded on time because of some operational reasons, there have to be compensating controls that need to go into place to ensure that such vulnerable systems do not suffer an attack or don't go down. The maximum increase that has been seen has basically been in terms of phishing attacks for the reasons that I've explained to you. As far as crypto mining is concerned, crypto mining has seen a lot of increase, but crypto mining hasn't really increased on account of the COVID crisis. If there is one vector of attack which has increased exponentially because of the COVID crisis, and because people are working from home and accessing sensitive information from home, which they couldn't do so earlier, it is phishing. So I would say, what are the major priorities for a CISO? I would basically articulate and summarize them into 5. You have to protect the user, you have to protect the data, and you have to protect the device. But you also have to ensure that all your customer facing IT infrastructure is well protected, because that is the medium by which you communicate with your customers. If an adversary is able to bring down your customer facing infrastructure, they are cutting that umbilical cord that that your customer shares with you, and hence it cuts the inability or the communication link that you have with your customers. Such customer facing services, if they were to go down, it will have an immediate impact on your business and an immediate impact on the customer's ability not just to do business, but it may impact their lives. There is one aspect which generally gets overlooked, and that is basically brand protection. Brand protection is extremely important, because eventually and it's a definition at a very high level. There are a lot of things that would be I would say could be summarized under brand protection, and it should not be confused with some brand protection services which are out in the market, which basically look for which are an important and integral part of brand protection, but brand protection is not limited to that. So you're talking about services like scrolling the net for misuse of your brand. You have websites which are misusing your name. Somebody has registered a domain name which could even be which could tantamount to even cyber squatting. Some of these websites could be absolutely just names which have been domain names which have been registered, and there is nothing malicious beyond that. I mean, these are just dead ends. On the other hand, some of these could be doing financial transactions where they are simply misusing your name, but there's nothing really malicious happening. Some of these sites, fewer, but some of these sites could also be involved in financial fraud. By exploiting and leveraging your company's name, they could be involved in financial fraud. And such websites, it's important to, including phishing, by the way, or masquerading as your company site and basically trying to sort of capture credentials or do some fraud. And it's important to find these as early as possible and take them down. There is also this issue that comes under brand protection, and that is related to mobile apps today. So whilst I was talking about domains and websites of various natures coming up, and which can be graded under various categories, today a large number of businesses are connected with their customers through mobile apps, and that's a completely different ecosystem altogether. And yes, you do have a situation where at times you have malicious mobile apps which are floating around, and they can cause a lot of damage. So under brand protection, one of the services also where you search for such malicious apps and or unauthorized apps, and you take them down. The third is what some companies do is more around monitoring social media for adverse or I would say malicious news content or malicious activities which are meant to spread misinformation about a particular organization. So it's important that also be taken. I basically brought this out to basically, to convey that yes, these are services which are available under brand protection, but brand protection goes far beyond just these three basic services. It also includes how you handle, how you handle incidents, how you handle communication with customers, and if there is any issue which gets reported, particularly it could be on account of some exercise that you've done, and gets reported as to how do you handle that, how do you handle the possible fallout of something which is reported on account of a bug bounty program or whatever be the case. So there are a lot of things which can actually impact brand. And before I move on, there is one aspect that I would like to cover. Nothing can impact a brand more than an incident where customers' data were to leak out. And I think there is enough examples in the last couple of years to see the adverse impact such incidents have brought upon companies. So this is something, data privacy and data protection is extremely important eventually, because any incident around that could also impact your brand. Now, before I get on to more detailed this thing, I just want to share with everybody as to how do we protect ourselves at Airtel. We're a very, very large organization. We have a huge amount of IT infrastructure. We are one of the largest telcos in the world, with a customer base which, even going by sheer numbers, is staggering for most of the countries out of India. So you just have a look at it. This is what we do. 186 GB of data processed per day, and these are only security data points that I'm talking about. 62,000 plus events per day in the DLP, and this is the numbers actually much more. I'm talking about a restricted, I'm talking about more of India operations. We handle a very large number of incidents per day. We have to be in compliance with several, audit, certification requirements, and as well as regulatory. So I don't know how many are actually aware that as a telecommunication, as a TSP, we are bound by very, very strict regulatory and compliance requirements, which are part of our licensing condition, and we have to do that. There is a huge amount of infrastructure that we have to secure, and on which we have to do regular vulnerability assessments. and the number of endpoints that we protect actually is much more than what is actually shown out here. Moving on. So what are the key challenges in today's in today's ecosystem for any organization? And it doesn't matter if today whether you're a small, medium, or a large organization. The only difference between the three is the ability or the willingness to actually invest in at times on-prem or in certain technologies. But there are organizations which very clearly decide very early on that, look, we want to focus on our core business. And hence, we want to push everything onto the cloud. And in most of the cases, they are not even bound by any regulatory requirements because every sector is not really regulated. Now, it doesn't matter whether your infrastructure is running on-prem or it is running on cloud. There are some things that you have to take into account. You have to basically protect yourself against advanced or zero-day attacks. Uh, uh, Security is evolving at a very rapid pace. Cyber threats are changing extremely rapidly. You have to stay at least in line, if not ahead of the curve. And one of the major issues and challenges that every organization faces is, how do I protect myself against ATP level attacks, which is advanced APT level attacks, advanced persistent threats. You have to have a DLP solution in place. You have to secure your email gateways. You have to have adequate amount of perimeter security. You have to do your risk assessment and vulnerability as well as penetration testing at regular basis, as defined in your information security policy, and even review on the frequency of this exercise depending upon how fast your organization IT infrastructure is evolving, and how vulnerable, I mean, how exposed you are. So this is a call. There are some companies which do a VAPT once a year. There are some which do on a 6-monthly basis, and some which do on a quarterly basis. A lot has been said about IoT, Internet of Things. This is something which is coming in a very, very big way. And hence IoT security is also has to be for all organizations which are highly dependent on IoT systems and IoT devices. This is something that they have to cater. For organizations which are on the cloud, access control and is extremely important. Now, cloud has various models. It has the private cloud or infrastructure service, PaaS and SaaS. Depending upon what cloud model the customer has, your organization has taken, the role and responsibility between the cloud service provider and the end user, or rather the customer organization, that changes. So the maximum onus is on the cloud service provider for the platform security when it comes to SaaS. And as you go to PaaS and as you go to infrastructure as service, the responsibility model becomes more and more weight comes on the customer side. There is one thing which never changes. One thing that never changes when you're adopting cloud technologies is the responsibility for endpoint security always remains with the end user organization. It is your responsibility to ensure that your endpoints are protected, and it's extremely important that access control be robust. Now, for your access control to be robust, you can put a CASP solution in place, a cloud access security broker, but eventually access control is absolutely tightly bound to basically IDAM, which is identity and access solutions, and which will have a combination of basic identity management, and a privileged identity management. These two in a combination enable you to do something which is called role-based access. So if you do not have a robust identity and access mechanism, then it basically implies that the organization has a very weak foundation for cybersecurity. IDAM is absolutely a very, very basic essential requirement, because You can only guarantee a role-based access if you have a very, very robust identity and access mechanism. A couple of other things that I want to cover on this slide is a lot of organizations do their own DevOps. So when you're doing your DevOps, whether it is the waterfall or the agile methodology, all methodologies have their pros and their cons. You have to ensure that anything which goes into production is safe. If there are any shortcuts around that, you could actually put the entire organization at serious risk, not to mention your customers. So in this, the one thing which I have not mentioned is the SOC MSS. So this is basically Security Operations Center. Now, having a SOC is nothing but, if you look at the 4 pillars of security, which is protect, detect, respond, and recover, the SOC is a very important and integral part of the of your detect and your response mechanism. It is your first layer of detection. If something goes wrong, this is your solution. This is the team which should be able to point out on an urgent basis that, look, something is going wrong and what needs to be done. The SOC team is also extremely plays a very critical role in the response part of your protect, detect, response, and recover. And more importantly, this is the technology which goes into setting up your SOC is also evolving very, very rapidly. And in many organizations have still stuck onto legacy systems and have not really, moved on. And in some cases, there are organizations which do not even have a SOC. So the only way they can basically respond is when something goes wrong, it goes drastically wrong. And that's the first time they actually notice that something is not working. And in many cases, it's already too late by then. So on the SOC piece, and why I wish to stress more upon this, is that in this very rapidly changing cyber threat environment, it's extremely important that we adopt technologies which are also changing very rapidly from a product perspective and are able to keep some of the emerging cyber threats at bay. And one key aspect to any effective security governance, security monitoring, and security operations going forward is the ability to automate, and so that the security team time, energy, bandwidth, and skills do not get wasted in doing mundane tasks. Rather, they can focus on the more important things of whether it is threat hunting or it is doing a root cause analysis of something that has gone wrong, or really work at the L2 or the L3 level, where they are constantly working with the operations team to figure out what are the additional use cases. How do you keep transforming your security operations? And whatever is mundane, whatever is routine, you any which ways can automate that. And today, with current technology like SOAR, SOAR, which is Security Orchestration, Automation, and Response, you can take your automation to the next level. And this will allow organizations to basically focus on on really critical core technical stuff, and eventually help organizations to continuously keep transforming their security stance against such emerging threats. Now, I just want to spend a couple of minutes because I thought I'll cover this, because this is a question that is asked of me in forums, in any conversation I'm having with my counterparts. I just thought I'll cover a couple of personal experiences of how Airtel handled the COVID crisis initially, because this is a question which is asked of me in various forums, or even when I am in conversation with my colleagues in the industry. India went into lockdown in somewhere in mid-May, and I'm aware of the struggle that many of you faced. There were so many organizations were so unprepared. There was no BCP plan. Even where there was a BCP plan, it was very vague. There was lack of clarity, simply because there was no plan made out to handle an extreme situation like this. It was a complete lockdown. Uh, there was also this issue of how do I move such a large number of people to work from home? How can I do it securely? What is it that I need to do to so that my workforce can connect to my ecosystem with optimum efficiency? What if I'm having connectivity issues? What could be my alternate sources to do that? And lastly, what is it that I need to do from an IT infrastructure perspective? Because I am not scalable. If I earlier, suddenly if 5,000 employees have to join, on a VPN into my infrastructure, perhaps my connectivity is not up to the mark. I may not be able to handle so many simultaneous connections. Uh, and the last, of course, is that with this entire change, with this paradigm shift, how does it impact my security operations? What is it that I need to do differently? What is it that I need to, monitor more closely? So I just want to share with you some very quick data points, and that is, how we handled it. So obviously, with so many people working from home, customer traffic, expanded on a phenomenal basis. Restricted, the field activities were restricted due to the lockdown, and obviously everything, whatever could move from home, moved from home. But I'm very proud to share that as a telecom, as a telco, since we were and are an essential service in the country, our field engineers were on the field, on the ground, to repair, to ensure that telecommunication services rendered by us to our customers and to the country didn't go down. For them, they were on the field right from day one. There was no lockdown for them. The other challenge was that how do we quickly enable our tools, our applications, from a network perspective, anywhere. So anywhere, anytime access. So we have two components out here we are talking about in an organization like ours. One is the telecommunication part, right, which we refer to as the network, and the other one is the engineering side, which is all the IT systems and so on and so forth. And in any case, both work in very close sync with each other. But there are very large number of people who need to access these tools or these applications, and hence allowing these applications to be accessed remotely was the first major challenge, and it had to be done. And there is no other easy way of doing it otherwise than making changes in your IT infrastructure, opening ports, allowing certain services to be accessed from outside, and so on and so forth. We had to augment our capacity. Now, this had to be done. We had to sort of enable almost 55,000 people to work from home in the first go. So, and this is unprecedented. So on an average, if you have only 10,000 people or 5,000 people at times connecting remotely, and now that is going up by 5 times, 6 times, and which was the case with many companies, you have to augment your network capacity. It has to be able to handle that much of incoming traffic. And you had to do that in a manner because eventually we ourselves are using the same services, which you all are. We are also using the same broadband. We are also using the same 4G. And hence, if something were to go down, it is not that it is going down only for our customers. It goes down for us as well. So the whole point that I'm trying to stress is that we use the same services which you do. We are using the same connectivity which you do. And if wherever we are staying at home, and if we are not able to connect, it implies that people around us are facing the same problems. As far as we had to basically move very quickly into a virtualized NOC model. We had to move into a virtualized SOC model, and we had to basically create virtual teams, whether it is our NOC team or it is our SOC team. and we had to use a combination of VPN and VDI solutions. So very clearly, certain critical applications we decided that it should be accessed only over VDI, not VPN. And in some cases, we also faced the same challenges which others did, because there were a lot of people operating from their hometowns. Some had official laptops, some did not have official laptops. And if they don't have an official laptop and they need to work, then they need to use their personal laptop, in which then we enable them to use VDI to do that. We had already deployed MDM for mobile data protection. So people could access, their mails over their mobile devices, which incidentally has got nothing to do with COVID. Implementing MDM on a mobile device so that people can access company information is a part of your overall security strategy in any case. But I am aware that many companies haven't basically implemented some of these basic controls or technology solutions. So what is the crux of the issue? In a span of less than 1 week, we enabled 50,000 plus people who are dedicatedly working for Airtel to work from home. We basically had to increase our own capacity by 6 times, and we implemented a DR. I mean, we had a DR. We just basically ensured that it was up to the mark. And we gave secure access either, through virtual desktops to over 3,000 users with heavy processing and highly confidential data being accessible. So that is a logic that we used internally. Of course, initially, like many other organizations, we were using Zoom, and we had enterprise licenses of Zoom. As you're all aware, we have migrated now to Blue Jeans. It's an amazing solution. You must try it. But yes, our entire functioning moved into the virtual world. So, and I'm sure that is the case for most of you. Many companies who really did not have a culture of collaborating virtually had to shift. I mean, had to do a gear shift literally overnight because it was a matter of survival. And this has changed the way people work. The ability to actually collaborate in virtually. The world also woke up to the risks of using collaborative tools without security controls, or if they are not configured properly. Some of these collaborative tools that we used, the OEMs also immediately put a lot of effort and came up with versions which addressed all known issues, and that literally happened in a matter of weeks. Something which would have otherwise taken months. That's the only thing I wanted to cover. I just very quickly want to say that, look, I talked about automated security operations. I have just displayed a very, very simple chart to basically convey to you what would automation of a security operation center actually look like. I would just say that today, if you were to buy a solution, a lot of solutions are there which you end up buying 4 or 5 products, and then you have this challenge of integrating them. The next generation solutions are one in which you have the SIM, the SOAR, the orchestration, the correlation, the user behavior analytics piece, the large data analytics or machine learning, and threat intelligence all bundled into one, which truly actually can help you automate and take your organization to the next level. Just as a summary, what we do for our customers, I don't want to spend too much of time going through the nitty-gritties of this, but basically we help our customers in addressing their security concerns from a 360-degree perspective, whether it is user security, network security, data security, web security, or all issues around brand security. So thank you so much. I hope I was able to cover some of the issues which are of concern to you.
Thanks, Manish, for bringing in some realistic perspectives on how to address this big security challenge. Thanks for attending.